And it is Friday, December 27th. Only 3 more trading days left until the end of the year. So very interesting. It's kind of, markets are giving it up a little bit right now. And just was going over some stuff. And it's quiet. It's quiet. It was running through some news, too, with some stuff. Wasn't really a lot going on. There was some new stuff, though, in the volatility list. I had noticed Starbucks has actually now creeped up into the mix. Netflix as well, with a bit of a spike in volatility now up to 62. So that's a pretty decent move. And I guess as we get near, a lot of these companies are going to have earnings next year in January, right? First couple of weeks into the new year, we're going to start getting some earnings on some of these names. I haven't traded Netflix in a while, but with volatility at a 62.2, gotta kind of look at it a little bit. It has actually sold off a little bit. It was kind of a little bit of a riff with the Monday night football, the Christmas Day football broadcast. I really didn't watch it. I kind of flipped through. I think when I eventually put the Chiefs game on, the Chiefs were winning. The Chiefs were already kicking their ass, so I turned it off. I literally watched it for like 5 minutes. And then the other game I didn't even watch. The second game, I didn't even watch that. And then last night, which has nothing to do with Netflix, but I didn't even watch that game. I heard that was a bore fest. It was like a baseball game. I think it was like 6-3 or something. Awful. So January 21st is when Netflix has earnings. Expected move is about a 42 in January. Almost $43. It's definitely not a cheap stock. This one you have to do. I mean, unless you got some juice in your account, this one's a margin hog. Yes. Let me see if I have the right account. Yeah, that's my regular trading account that I have margin in, and it's quoting me 12 grand. So the margins in this are bad. And so if I was going to do anything, I'm going to have to do something risk defined, because I am not locking up $13,000 worth of capital to do anything. I don't even care if it's Apple. I mean, there is a decent amount of juice in here in January still. I don't know if I'd really want to do anything, though, here, especially the fact that with earnings coming out on the 12th, it's kind of or the 21st, mind me. They come out after the January expiry, so likely you're not going to be able to even do the January options. So you're going to need to look at the Februaries. They're looking at a $110 move in February, which overall, if you really think about it, isn't really a lot for Netflix because this thing moves. And so the one standard deviation, let's see if we did a one standard deviation. Wow, brings me out to over 10. Wow, I would thinking Netflix is $1,000. It's just insane. And I don't normally trade these bigger stocks like this. This is going to be a tough one to do, only because as you get out, you can see as you get out past this one standard deviation here, they're 20 wide. They're 20 wide strikes. That's insane. That sucks. So I don't even know if I guess you're going to have to wait. I would assume that in time out, as we get closer to this, they will probably add strikes in here. I believe. So they will probably add strikes, but for now, you can't even do anything on the call side here with any kind of reasonable, because I don't want to do a 20 wide on one side. I don't want to do that. So you're really kind of forced into doing, there's really not much you can do here. I mean, if you want to take advantage, and again, I'm kind of looking at it, does volatility stay bid in here for another, it's about 3 weeks. So does it stay bid in here for another 3 weeks? And is it worth, it's probably worth just not doing anything. But again, clearly, I just wanted to point out that, some of these stocks are now starting to make this list as they get a little pumped with volatility. Also, Starbucks I see on the list as well. Saw that one this morning, and Starbucks is in the news because of all the labor disputes and everything else. And I don't want to get into it, but it is what it is. They're striking and doing whatever. It's not everywhere. It seems to always be. It always seems to be on the West Coast. I don't know why. It always seems to be that happens on the West Coast. Because the one by me, I don't see anybody striking. And the lines are down around the door, around the freaking building. So I don't go there. I don't drink their coffee. Not that I never drank it, but it's not worth waiting in line for. But needless to say, they have earnings out in February, so that one's kind of a ways away. But again, the fact that the volatility is a little bit in here, you can see at a 50, that's about where it goes. I mean, there's a couple of instances back in August, and then again in, looks like October, it stayed bid, was up in the 90s. Stock has had some rough patches. There's a couple of huge gaps in here, and I would assume this is probably last earnings cycle, and then here as well. This one was a gap down, and this one was a gap up, and so basically it opened up two gaps, and it never filled. I don't know. I'm not one of these gap religious people at all. Like, I know there's some people that are like, all gaps have to get filled, blah, blah. I don't, there's nothing that has to happen in the market, right? Market does what the market does. But let's look at Starbucks. It's not the greatest. I don't even know where it ranks. Let's take a look at the, it gets a 5-star liquidity. I don't really have had that. I can't say I've had that overall experience with it. in having a 5-star liquidity rating, but nonetheless, it's rated 5 stars. You're not getting anything in January at all. And you're really going to have to see how these open. I mean, look at this one's bid 5 cents. Like, what? What? I mean, look at this. You can drive a truck through some of these spreads, too. So, really going to have to see how this opens in order to get any kind of real idea of where some of the prices of these options are. Yeah, I really can't wait until they go to extended hour trading on options. It's coming, folks. I firmly believe it. There's a demand for it. And, and seeing that there's the demand for it, I think, it is eventually going to happen. I wish it would. I don't really get why it's not. And I hear all the arguments all over the place. I think it's all bullshit. We have the technology to have 24/7 markets in crypto and 24/5 in all the other markets and the futures and everything else. Everything's electronic anyway. And to make it seem like, they can't do it with options because whatever. I think it's all bullshit. And I'm not looking for 24. I don't want 24/7 anyway. But it would be nice if the options traded congruent to what the markets of those options do. Because, like, the stocks will trade till 7 o'clock at night sometimes, 6, 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? They'll trade after hours and everything. I just think they should leave the options open for that as well. I mean, it just seems stupid that the underlying is actually open for trading, but, like, your derivatives are closed. Like, because you can't calculate the prices? Like, why? There's somebody down there on a chalkboard writing up the price? No, come on. Again, my opinion on it is I just think it's kind of the last ditch effort of the system itself being able to influence those markets. And once they go to and admit, hey, look, we're going to have after hours trading and options and everything, they kind of lose control, right? And which is okay with me, because to me, I'm like, I don't get it. Like right now, the stock, Starbucks stock is open. Why are not the options? Options should be trading right now, at least giving bids and being able to put in limit orders, just like you do at extended hours trading. You got to put in limit orders and all this other stuff so that, and I get it. But I still don't understand why they haven't gotten to that point. Anyway, there's really nothing I can do in here until this opens because, the markets in here are... February looks a lot better than January as far as the markets and the quotes. They're still relatively wide. So I don't know. I'm just putting it on the radar anyway because it did show up. Intel is another one that's kind of creeped up into the list here. And this is that high option volume. And why do I look at this high options volume list every day is because, look, these are the stocks that are deemed with the highest amount of not only the underlying stock, but their options have extreme level of liquidity. And anytime anyone who knows, and if you trade options as long as I have, you will realize that liquidity and the options in any market, it's not just options, but liquidity is like the key. Because the worst thing that could ever happen to you is you get into trade, and then let's just say it goes to the good, and you can't get out because there's no liquidity and there's nobody who wants to give you a bid on the other side. I don't ever want to get in that. I don't want to ever have that happen. I want to be able to say, and the markets aren't perfect, but I want to be able to get out of a trade when I want to get out, and not have to chase it around to try and get it executed. So it's really important. So that was another one I noticed that kind of creeped on the list. I don't know if there's really much of anything you can do in Intel. Like you're not going to short it. I mean, because it's already beaten to bejesus. I mean, the only thing you can really do in here out of any strategic kind of play is to sell puts, and you're really not even getting paid for selling puts. I mean, if you're going to sell puts, you kind of have to do almost a stock replacement where you're going a little bit in the money and just kind of trying to use leverage maybe to save yourself a little money than from buying the stock. I mean, so, here's a 25-20. Here's a 25-20 put spread in February. It's going to pay you $353. You're only going to use $147 worth of buying power. And you're basically at a delta of almost 40. So this is equal to almost buying 40 shares. You're synthetically long. And if you were to look at this on the curve, your downside is about, if you're looking for where you're down, your break even is at about 1950. Is kind of where you're at. Yeah, I mean, that's really all you can do in there, in my opinion. So if you're looking to do something in Intel, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, it's not the worst trade in the world, but I may actually consider doing that. Again, for the $147, I've done worse. And it's just a cheap way to get long Intel. I mean, and you're not going to, I don't think this thing is going to go gangbusters on you, but it's already gotten the piss beat out of it to no avail. I mean, it is just beaten to death. So there you have that. And then a few other things. Actually, gold is out on the list. That's actually at a 49 IV. And gold's had a bit of a problem. I'm not going to say problem, but it's had its struggles. It's been up, it's been down, it's been chopping around. I don't really think there's anything to do there. And then we start getting down in the list where the numbers are just not, when I'm looking at other things like even a Tesla, I'll just roll back into that. I mean, Tesla now, IV rank of 84, still stays bid for volatility, which is kind of crazy. Palantir, another one. Stock impossible to short. And trust me, I was short calls on this thing almost all year, up until about 2 or 3 months ago, when it hit around 65. I want to say it was like 60 or 65. I was rolling calls from when it was like 20. And finally, I gave up. I was like, you know what? I am not making any money. I keep losing, and I gave up. It never got a pullback. And I'm glad I did, because I finally said uncle, and I got 20 more points out of it. And it's now at 82. I don't know if it continues, but at an IV rank of 67, I keep thinking, well, maybe I do sell some more, but I'm not getting into this. Stock is just, it's got too much momentum. But if I were actually to look out in March, the call skew in here is literally just insane. I mean, I can sell a 100 call out in March for almost $6. I mean, it's insane. That's $20 away. It's $20 away. And it's still spitting $6. There's so much call skew in here. It's just absolute insanity. And again, the problem with the call skew, right, is it as attractive as it looks, you know, this thing could rip 20 points in a day, in 2 days. You know, it could also go down, but, you know, the way it's been operating, it can rip 20 points in a couple of days, and then what? I mean, look at my cost base. My cost basis is $17. And this is only one account that I have this in here. So do I think it's worth it? I mean, it looks like it is, but I just cannot bring myself to short this thing anymore. I'm not going to be on the. I'm not going to do it. Yeah, they have earnings coming out in the beginning of February. Let's see how the February options. I mean, maybe. I don't know what the margins are like. Yeah, the margins in here suck. I was thinking maybe you sell a 60 put. I mean, I wouldn't even do a strangle in here thinking I was going to get my face ripped off. I mean, a strangle just inside the one. So if you did like a 60, let's see if you did like a 6110. I mean, on paper, it looks absolutely awesome. And it's really wide. I don't know why that's doing that. This should not. Yeah. Yeah, something wrong with that. I don't know what the story is there. Something wrong with that. That's not right. That should actually have the red on both sides. But anyway, that's kind of how it looks. But I don't know. It looks really good. 76% probability of profit. Anyway, tough stock to sell calls on. I mean, they pay you. There's no question about it. They pay you. There are some definite numbers up here. There is some serious liquidity for sure. There is some serious liquidity when you start looking up here. I mean, 12K, 10K, 23K at the 80 strike. I wouldn't do anything in January. Too short. You only got 21 days. And they're really not paying out there. Some pretty big numbers, though. 26K out there. I don't know. Oh, didn't know. Tough stock, man. Tough stock to be short right now. All right, and I think that's kind of it as far as like what I was looking at. Now we'll actually go through the tape real quick and see. There's not really a lot on here. Bonds still under pressure, as you can see. They've kind of had a rough patch of it. I don't want to talk about bonds because they are kicking my arse. A lot of the looks like a lot of the Chinese stocks, JD, Billy, Baba, K-Web, Baidu. A little lower today. I don't know why, but those are a little lower. And then a bunch of, I had read earlier, a bunch of the, I guess, Wall Street bet stocks, I guess, is how they labeled it, are kind of running today. Where is that story? Yeah, Social Buzz. Wall Street bet stocks mostly higher. KULR, KULR. And if my iPad was working, I would actually put it up here, but it is not working again. I don't know what's going on. Thing's got a mind of its own. No idea. It works, then it doesn't work. Yeah, all right, anyway. So anyway, that's kind of the story. KULR, LUNR. The UNRs, Rocket Labs, Archer Activation, and Red Cat Holdings. I guess I don't know if I don't follow them because to me it's they're. I'm not one of those apes. This is one of them. The LR Technologies. They could crush this month. Ooh. Yeah, so that was kind of the same thing. Social Buzz, the same story that I got from, I don't know who's got this one, but it's the same story I got from TradingView. Literally the same exact story. Yeah, MT Newswire. Right, whatever. So, other than that, that's kind of it. I mean, there's not really much at all. And then I guess last but not least, I guess I'll talk about natural gas. Natural gas got a bit of a bounce last night. It actually sold off pretty hard yesterday. You can see big candle. Again, we're printing these big candles in Natty Gas here. And they continue to... it continues to reject up here. But as I've been mentioning, the last several trading days, actually more than that, but got a few in here, kind of one that sticks out. But here we're kind of building these big ranges in natural gas. I mean, eventually, usually what happens with these is it does explode one way or the other. I mean, it's never... natural gas has a mind of its own, and they don't call it the Widowmaker by mistake. But we're getting in these. We have these big trading ranges that are printing, and just making it a very interesting commodity because really we kind of lost a lot of the other commodities right now because their trading ranges have completely sucked. Even crude oil. Just not even, to me, it's not even like you can't trade. I mean, there's people who do. I mean, it's not interesting anymore. Crude oil has just been like dead. It's still been dead stick for like 4 months now. But natural gas is moving. Volatility has actually come down a bit. You can see it actually was up through the roof. It was up near 100 just a couple of days ago. And so volatility has come in a little bit. And so I still think the play here in Natty Gas is not to play the breakout or the breakdown or anything directional. I think if you can capitalize a little bit on this volatility and sell puts below 280 and sell calls above, $3.50 to $4, even $3.80, I think you're going to be in good shape with this because it's really, really stuck in a range. But I marked this area up here because it seems like we're having a lot of problems getting through there. And when it does eventually, again, totally my opinion, but when it does eventually bust through that spot, it's probably going to be like a blow-off thing where it just, it's not only going to just blow through there, it's going to beat on $4 real quick. But if and when I knew if that was going to happen, right, I'd be out on a beach somewhere, drinking out of a pineapple, and not doing this crap. So, anyway, that's that. That's all I got today. I think we're in for a relatively non-eventful day is probably the easiest way I could put it. All the indexes are off a bit today. We got the Dow down 200, the SPOOs are down 32, NASDAQ's down 130. But we were also down yesterday, and then they turned everything around and, bang, everything went the other way. But if there's an index, and to me, that is worth, being long, in my opinion, it's probably the Russell. But that one hasn't been very easy to be long either. It hasn't been very forgiving. All right, and so that's it. And so that's it for the week. Have a good trading day. Have a good weekend, and we will be back tomorrow. Or actually, no.